Thank you. Miss Sells, I saw you earlier. Are you still out there? There you are. Would you please, if you come forward? We have a group of students from North Lake to lead us in the pledge tonight, and Miss Sherry's going to tell us all about it.
Well, we have a leadership team this school year. We just started it. It's 4th and 5th graders, and the leadership team is starting to be a big part of our school. They make decisions, they help us decide on events, on activities, and they found out that we had to spotlight North Lake. They wanted to do it, so we're letting them do it. They're going to say the pledge. We have Declan Kelly, Will Bishop, Addie Thames, Juliana Plattenberg, Faith Germain, Spencer Riddle, Connor Germain, and Jacob Barrett. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We remind everyone, please, if you have not already done so, to silence your phones so that we don't have those going off during the meeting. And we'll move right along with item C, which is public input and checking the clipboard. We don't have anyone signed up to speak, so we'll move right on to the approval of the agenda. Board members, please take a look at the agenda and see if you have questions.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Have a motion to approve the agenda by Mr. Williams, a second by Ms. Schultz. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. That takes us to item E, which is the consent agenda approval. There's a couple of items on there. Well, there are two broad items on there. You have the minutes from January, and we also have several field trip requests. I'm not going to go through all those. If you have questions about any of them, we'll be glad to answer them for you.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Mr. Williams, and second by Ms. Roberts. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries as well. Dr. Coleman, that takes us to the director's report.
All right, good afternoon or good evening. We're on the director's report. I'm going to make some adjustments here so that we can accommodate the entire audience. So first on, we will want to spotlight at each board meeting. We spotlight a school and department. So tonight we're going to spotlight North Lake. So we're going to have them to go first.
Before we start, I just want to give you a little background on this. About 3 years ago, Eric Fansant met with us, and he was saying that we need a motto. The schools need a motto to when you hear our motto, the kids will know it. They can say it. If anybody outside of here, hears it, they're going to know it's North Lake. So what we came up with as a school, faculty, students, everybody, we came up with leverage is our name, learning is our game, we are unstoppable. And the kids, as I said, the leadership team, they took that and they wanted to gear it towards a game, since it's been football season and we just had the Super Bowl and everything. So they wanted to gear the presentation to spotlight North Lake with football. You guys got it?
This is Declan Kelly reporting on the first quarter. In the first quarter, the game started with a kickoff back in August. North Lake held its annual tailgate party where students and their families came out for food, fun, and to meet their new teachers. 4 plays were made and points were scored with activities such as the AR kickoff, where students assembled in the gym and were motivated to make goals, and ended with everyone enjoying watermelon. North Lake celebrated Grandparents' Day with donuts. We had so many fans show up that they were lined out of the door. The next play consisted of Patriots' Day, where North Lake remembered all who lost their lives on 9/11. Students placed flags all around the perimeter of the parking lots. students were introduced to their Franklin County High School student helpers who come each month to cheer them on and pump them up. Next, the STEM band with Miss Carter came for the first of many field trips to do all sorts of exciting plays involving STEM activities. Northlake appointed its leadership team for the year, which included 11 4th and 5th graders. Their jobs include serving food at social events, making decisions on upcoming school functions, as well as distributing food bags outside of classroom doors every Friday. Next, students showed school spirit by participating in Franklin County High School's homecoming dress-up days throughout the week of homecoming. It's always an exciting time getting to check out of school and go support other teams. Let's go FC! 5th grade called the first time out of the game for a field trip to Falls Mill, where they learned a lot about the history of the textile mill.
This is Addie Thames reporting on the second quarter. In the second quarter, more yardage was gained with several more plays, including the election of 4-H officers, along with several 4-H activities, such as chick chain, speech and poster contest, and much more. Northlake held a pep rally for the Leopards and Lady Leopards basketball team. Both students and teachers competed in games to show their agility. Next up, students celebrated Red Ribbon Week with dress-up days and several guest speakers, including investigators Nick Watson and Chuck Steins, along with the Prevention Coalition. The second time out of the game was called when the entire student body got to go on a fun field trip to Granddaddy's farm. Northlake held a trunk or treat with over 30-plus participants from the community, businesses, and many of our Northlake families. This could not have happened without all of their support. Several teachers had the opportunity to attend a tech conference in Murfreesboro where Jerry Burks was the key speaker. Veterans Day was remembered with a program where students' family members from each branch of service were invited to attend. The program consisted of grade level singing patriotic songs, listening to guest speaker Major William Anderson, and being served refreshments afterwards. Families were invited to eat with their children for a Thanksgiving luncheon. With the season of Thanksgiving, Northlake wants to express thanks to the many community members who have either donated items for the school or have donated their time to come to activities for the students. Northlake also wants to thank the Franklin County Beautification Committee and Boy Scout Troop 185 for fixing up our school grounds as well as placing new memorial poles. These memorial poles serve as remembrance of any faculty, staff members, or student that has passed away during their time at Northlake Elementary. Northlake continues to give thanks for all these volunteers. And even more. Of course, there were tons more STEM activities and project-based learning activities happening throughout this quarter. Everyone started feeling the heat as halftime, or should I say the holidays, was quickly approaching. Students kicked off December with the countdown to Christmas dress-up days. A few more timeouts were called when the students had the opportunity to attend a field trip to Montville College to watch a play about Aesop's Fables, and then another to the Oldham Theater to watch a movie. Northlake was happy to sponsor, once again, an angel tree for families in need. This was made possible through many donations and the Brothers of Will sponsoring bicycles. Northlake's annual Pancakes with Santa was another huge play in the game with a record-breaking number of tickets purchased. This is one of the school's biggest fundraisers and an event that the families look forward to each season. Before going to the locker room at halftime, Northlake ended the second quarter with a special Christmas music program performed by each grade level, as well as classroom Christmas parties.
This is Spencer Riddle reporting on halftime, or shall I say Christmas break. It consists of students getting to spend some quality time with their families, Even the Northlake faculty and staff family enjoyed their time together with a trip to Mary Bobo's for lunch. Now here in the third quarter, it started out with a delaying game due to all the snow dates in January. However, Northlake was able to gain yardage by having students submit their fun into snow pictures. Northlake celebrated several scores with an annual basketball banquet where the first annual Sherry Tales Award was given out to Kendall Mason. The next big play in the game came with the 101st day of school celebration. Students dressed as Dalmatians and were on the lookout for the dog catcher, or SRO, lurking in the halls. This day consisted of lots of activities, including door prizes every 101 minutes, a canine unit dog presentation, Scooby-Doo snacks, themselves being placed in the dog pound, and a dog food drive. Students scored a goal of 101 plus items that were then donated to the Franklin County Animal Control and Animal Harbor. This quarter also consisted of a father-daughter Valentine dance. Later on in this quarter, there should be other plays to look forward to, such as Mardi Gras, STEM Night, Book Fair, the celebration of Read Across America, and the 5th grade presentations of the Black History Living Wax Museum.
This is Connor Germain reporting on the fourth quarter. Northlake students look forward to the fourth quarter holding just as many exciting things with our annual TCAP Carnival and the anticipation of scoring several touchdowns on TCAP. Fifth graders are looking forward to the fifth grade dance, and all are looking forward to the end of the year field trips. With no fumbles or interceptions, Northlake will continue to press on in the game, which will result in graduations and end of the year awards. It isn't over till it's over. If Northlake continues to elevate its game with skill and will, they should come out with another winning season. And I quote from Principal Sells, "That is because we are Northlake strong."
Thank you guys for spotlighting us. I mean, sometimes we just have a ball at Northlake. We're doing a great job. I think our team, faculty, staff, the kiddos, I mean, we're just a family out there. And if you ever get a chance, come on out and see us. We're doing it.
All right, so I must go along with that pitch. So reporting live from the sideline. We thank Northlake for a great game, sharing with us their first, second, third, and fourth quarter. And now on to a commercial break. So at this time, we're going to give some transition time, and we'll then have, we want to acknowledge our 4-H. We have a huge announcement that we want to share, and I don't want you all to miss. So come back in exactly 10 seconds.
Wait for the loud signal. You only do
And we're back.
Oh,
okay. All right, Mr. Isbell, you would? All right.
Right up there. All right, we first want to start off with saying we want to thank you for your continued support of Franklin County 4-H. And we're excited to highlight 4 Franklin County school system students. We have Lily Boswell, Sam Fishner, Amelia Matson, and then Madeline Harrell. These 4 members make up the Franklin County Consumer Decision Making team. And the consumer decision making is when youth develop and utilize decision making skills to apply to consumer items. Think about betting when you make a consumer decision as an adult. They then have to do oral reasons, which is an independent component, and then they have to work together as a team to do a 10-minute group thing, which is kind of hard. You don't have any time to prep. You're just kind of flip over a piece of paper, and you have to work together as a team to accomplish a common goal. What's special about this team is they won at the Central Region Contest against 31 counties in our central Middle Tennessee area and advanced on to the Tennessee 4-H Fall Judging Day at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville. This group is our first state champion winning team at that event, so that's such an accomplishment against 95 counties across the state. A part of that championship, they each win $1,000 to help advance their education as they advance to their own colleges. And then they also had a chance to represent Tennessee at the national contest this January in San Antonio, Texas, where they competed against 48 other states and came away with the national championship. So this is the first championship Franklin County has ever had since the beginning of 4-H in 1902. And then this is just the 3rd time Tennessee has ever won this contest since then as well. So we're proud of these girls and their hard work and dedication as a team. And we're excited to have Mayor Chris Guest with us tonight to really celebrate this honor. So.
Y'all know me long enough, it won't take long. Y'all turn around and look out there, those are the people that need to see it. Those y'all. I would say one thing real quick, then I'll read the proclamation. You know, we spend a lot of time in government, you spend a lot of time in leadership positions, you spend a lot of time on school boards, you spend a lot of time on county commissions talking about things that you can't do, things that you don't do well, things that maybe we'll never do. We spend a lot of time, it seems, and that's probably human nature, to talk about those, what we need to be talking about, the things that we can do, things we're going to do, and things that are successes. You spend a lot of time talking about that, and I think that it brightens the future for you just a little bit. Plus, here's living proof that good things and outstanding things do happen. And if you go in any of our school systems, or any of our schools in our system, any day of the week, any day of the year, you'll see something that'll brighten your day somewhere along the way. I would bet on that because I've been in them all. And talked to Aaron a lot of them, and that certainly brightened my day. So it's a big deal, and there's a lot of congratulations there in North for everybody that was involved in this. Thanks to Hunter, and thanks to these students for putting forth the effort. It's truly amazing. Whereas Franklin County, Tennessee is pleased to recognize Franklin County 4-H in honor of winning the 2024 National 4-H Champion title. And whereas the Franklin County 4-H Consumer Decision Making Judging Team was named the first best team out of 48 states in the nation during their appearance at the 94th FCS National Championship and Conference, which took place in January 2024 in San Antonio, Texas. And whereas the stellar team succeeded through the hard work and steadfast commitment of each of its 4 members, Lily Boswell, Madeline Harrell, Amelia Maxon, and Sam Pfister, each ranked among the top 10 competitors individually, 192 individuals. And whereas under the superior leadership and guidance of Extension Agent and Coach Hunter Isbell, the Franklin County 4-H team developed exceptional teamwork and discipline. And whereas staff and students of the Franklin County school system and members of the Franklin County community are proud of these exemplary competitors for their dedication, teamwork, and focus. Therefore, I, Chris Guest, Mayor of Franklin County, do hereby commend the members of Franklin County 4-H on their outstanding accomplishments and congratulate them on earning the 2024 National 4-H Champion title. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Holman. Thank you, Ms. Yes. One of the things I do want to continue with the ladies. Ladies, your work does not go unnoticed. These are the types of things that we as a district must always give attention to, because I firmly believe in the saying that there is always more right than there are wrong. And upon taking this position, I recall myself saying, I hope and aspire to have this district to get state and national recognition. And we have done that through our 4-H, as well as our coordinated school health. They presented today, well, the last 3 days, along with Campora and our counselors at the state level. So Franklin County, we are constantly moving, and that's just the beginning. You all have set the precedence, and we will continue to do just that in our district. So thank you all, ladies, so very much. Now we would like to spotlight our partner in education, First Bank. Our First Bank representatives here. First Bank, on behalf of Franklin County School District, we want you to know how much we greatly appreciate the partnerships that you all do. Many times it's behind the scene and people don't recognize and do not know, and we appreciate the continuous support that you have given our district. And so on behalf of us, we would like for you to have a certificate in the bank so that they know that you are Franklin County strong. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, right side up. Get your names right, otherwise it'll be spelled out. Thank you. Thank you.
And on to our department folks at the central office. We each month at the board meetings want to spotlight. And so tonight we will be spotlighting our EO with our federal programs supervisor, Ms. Crabtree, and then followed up by Dr. Gwen for our special education.
Hi, Dr. Holman asked me to give just a quick update tonight on our English language learners in Franklin County. Laura, you can go ahead and go to the next one. Just to give you just a little bit of background, these are just two really simple slides. First of all, when we get a new student in our county, when they go to the office, they fill out a home language survey. And if English is not marked as the language spoken at home, that secretary calls one of our EL teachers, and the EL teacher goes to that school and tests that child. And from there, it's determined what type of services that child will receive. So that child may speak some English. They may not speak any English, but just because they're an English learner does not mean that they don't know English at all. So I just wanted to sort of clarify that because there seem to be some questions about that. Every year in October, the state does an official, what they call a pool. And October 23, we had 177 EL students. We did a pool just last week through our lovely 10 Pulse program, and we are up to 211. So from October to mid-February, that population itself has grown by a little over 30 students, so it is constantly growing. We have to maintain a ratio of 1 to 35. Right now we have 5 EL teachers, and one at Huntland, actually, one of his periods a day, he teaches an EL high school class, so that also counts into that. But when we look at that ratio, we are not within the ratio that we need to be, so I requested from Dr. Holman and Ms. Foster that for the next school year we hire one, so we'll be looking for a 6th EL teacher. You see that we currently have ELs in 9 of our schools, and then you can see how many languages are represented. I can't pronounce all of those, so Spanish, MAME, and there's about, I don't know, what, 10 to 12 different languages that all of our kids speak. And we have one of our EL teachers is bilingual, the others are not. That is not a requirement of being an EL teacher. Tennessee is an English-only speaking state. We test in English, everything we do is in English. So, you know, a lot of people say, well, we need our EL teacher to come and help the child translate and do those things. That's not what these teachers are doing. They're doing more of an English immersion kind of thing. Laura, you could go to the next slide. This is just a breakdown, and this also comes into issues of our staffing for our EL teachers. Right now we have 3 children at Broadview. Those children may need an hour a day, 5 days a week. And then you see we have 33 at Clark, and it goes all the way down. We have 1 at Swanee. On any given day, we could have an EL teacher that has to go to one of our schools and teach a student an hour a day, 5 days a week. So that also works into scheduling. It makes things really difficult. These teachers are doing their best to serve all the kids the best that they can, but it's just really hard when we have kids right now spread over 8 of our 11 schools. So the only ones that don't have ELs right now would be Cowan, North Lake, and Rock Creek. So you can see over here our Ls, we have 190 where the first language is not English, and when they take a test, it's actually, we're in the middle of it right now, it's called the WIDA. Depending on what they score on the WIDA test, that's how we know how they get serviced. The first level of service is the hour a day, 5 days a week, and then from there it gets tapered off just depending on their needs. So we have 190 that fall into that category, and then you see the other categories. T1s, we have 8 that are in their first year of transition outside of ESL. 7 are T2s, T3. We don't have any in T3 and T4. And then we have 6 that are W students, and those are students that have just waived services. The parents have said, we do not want our students receiving any EL services, although they do have to be tested, but we do have some parents that want that. So I just wanted to give you a real quick presentation. Do you have any questions that I can help answer?
I'm glad you did that, because I had a question.
Okay.
I had a call.
Okay.
About that.
Did this answer your question?
Yes,
Schultz?
it did, because
Okay.
I talked to Dr. Holman about it, so I'm really glad you spoke on that, because
Okay.
the information I got was not right.
Okay. Well, please reach out anytime.
Well, I just, when I saw him the other day, I thought about it again, so that's when we checked with you.
Okay.
And the interesting enough, the irony of that is because we, at the very beginning, in the summer, I did the schedule of which departments would be speaking each board meeting, and just so happened
Just so
tonight
happened.
was, yeah.
Well, it's always good to get that information, Jenny, so that we know when we're
And
out
I'll
in
be
public
happy to
that
share it with
somebody
you
can, we
anytime,
can talk
so.
about it.
Any other questions? All right. Dr. Gwynn?
I'm over the Exceptional Children's Services, and I originally started with Franklin County about 25 years ago as a school psychologist, and I've just loved this county, loved working with all of the staff. I've gone to almost every single school as a school psychologist, and now I work with all of the schools. Who's got the clipboard? Our funding comes from a lot of different sources. We get federal funding has never fully funded the services for students with disabilities, but we get some of our funding through federal funds. We get some through state funding. I've tried to, Special Ed loves acronyms, and Dr. Holman says I get headaches, and so I've tried to actually define all of them because in Tennessee we switched from the BEP funding formula to one called TISA. Which is the Tennessee Investment in Student Achievement, and for students that used to generate options, we now generate unique learning needs. So we get state funding based off of a multiplier, depending on how intensive the student's needs are, times the base, and then we also get some local funds. And it takes all of those funding sources to be able to support our services for our students with disabilities. I've just briefly listed some of the disability categories. Not only does Tennessee serve the 13 federal disability categories, but every state is allowed to add additional disabilities and serve more children than what the federal government requires. And Tennessee actually is one of the few states that has chosen to serve gifted students. And then we also have an eligibility category called functional delay, so those are unique to Tennessee. Our teacher-student ratios. One of the things I mentioned in here is that our teacher-student ratios are basically have to be commensurate to that of the general ed ratios. So preschool requires a ratio of 1 to 10. Our special ed classrooms, our interventions require a ratio of 1 to 10. But when COVID happened and the government decided to give high dosage tutoring funds to school systems, they based it off of research. And research shows that the smaller group that you have, 1-on-1 to 1-to-4, you can impact a student's achievement and progression through that at a higher rate and actually close the achievement gaps. But yet they don't fund the students with disabilities who have the most significant impairments intellectually and achievement-wise at that same ratio. And so that's one of the things that as a school psychologist and as a special ed supervisor, we always advocate to the state and federal government to try to change those funding ratios to what research shows is best practice. In addition to doing intervention services in reading, math, writing, science, social studies, all of our academic areas, our teachers also are required to do benchmark 3 times a year assessment that looks at how our students are performing on grade level, even though our students by definition are below grade level or they wouldn't be students with disabilities. They have to do bi-weekly progress monitoring. They're in charge of developing individual plans for students at least annually, and they're required to at least every 3 years relook at eligibility. Another component of special ed is that we also are charged with child find, which means that we have to look not only within our school system but within our community and try to find and identify students that have disability to hook them up to special education services. I listed our numbers. This is just a one-day snapshot. Every day we have students that move into our county, that move out of our county, that move to us from other states. We've had students move from Canada into our system, and if they're a student with disability, we have to give them commensurate services. And we are constantly evaluating students. This year alone, we've already evaluated 123 students since the school's year began to see if they're a student with a disability. And if you'll notice, we serve students at every single school, including homeschool students and private school students, because that is part of our private school proportionate share. So much of our funding is required to be used to give students services even if they're not in the school system, if they're residents of our county, or if they attend a private school within our county. At the end of last school year, we had data pulls that used to occur December 1st, and at the end of the year, that kind of was where our federal funding was based upon. So at the end of last year, we just served over 900 special ed students the previous school year. We've identified 123 so far this school year, and then I've just kind of listed our staff. We have school psychologists, we have licensed psychological examiners, we provide OT services, PT services, nursing services, audiological services, applied behavior analyst services. There's all sorts of services that we have to provide to students. And so we have student services that we have to contract with, such as an occupational therapist and a physical therapist, and then we have providers within our school system. So we have 35 teachers or providers, so our provider might be a speech-language therapist. We have 73 assistants that help support students by giving them additional support within the general ed setting to support them getting exposure to grade level standards. And we have 3 speech-language pathologists. I think there's one more screen. No? Nope, okay. And so I meant to put this on one of the screens, but we serve students from 3 until 21. So that can transition from the Tennessee Early Intervention System, about 2.5, 3, and then we serve them until they're 21. If they do not graduate high school with a regular ed diploma, we keep serving them through that. I don't know, but CTE has started talking about 6-year academic plans for high school students. So they look for us to not only support students within their K-12 academic careers, but also beyond. So they look to us to support and help give them the skills to either have a full-time job or go to college or TCAT. And so we are actively planning for that as soon as students turn about 14. But I wanted to highlight some of the things. These are all things that are mandated and required by rules and regulations, either through the federal or state government. But I wanted to highlight some things that we do that are really unique to Franklin County. Our gifted students have a teacher who is really tech savvy. And so one of the things we did as a service project is they are developing interactive light boards that can give sensory input for our more autistic children. And our goal is to build a board for one of those, for each of our schools and have them available to any student who might need that sensory input. And those boards usually cost anywhere from $1,500 to $15,000 depending on the size, and our gifted students are creating those for more disabled students. Across the nation and in Tennessee, there's been a shortage of providers for special ed students. We have started to Grow Your Own before the state even started one. So in the last 5 years, we've had one speech-language teacher get certified as a speech-language pathologist. We've had 4 staff members actually gain their special ed teacher certification. And we've had 8 people go back and become registered behavior technicians to help support the behavior needs of our students. We now currently, this academic year, have 3 teachers going back to become applied behavior analysts. We have 3 assistants going back to get their special ed teaching degree. We have a teacher going back to become a school psychologist, and we have a teacher going back to become a reading specialist to help support our students. In the future, next school year, we have a speech-language teacher that has agreed to become a speech-language pathologist, 2 assistants trying to get their RBT certification, and we have someone else interested in becoming a speech-language pathologist or school psychologist. They just really haven't decided yet. So we've done a good job about Franklin County as a school system pouring back into our staff, who then turn around and pour back into our students and help support our general ed students. We have written a lot of grants as a department, and one of the grants I'm most proud of is our Transition School to Work grant. It's through the Department of Health. We actually have a teacher and 2 assistants who support our high school students, and we're hoping to move down into middle school, but they have actually helped support students who never before would have had this opportunity to get their driver's license, to go to TCAT, and come out of school with actually a career where they're making good money. And we actually have supported students through job supported work, and we've had some students graduate and get employed by local factories and industries and workforce, and have actually come out of high school making more money than the staff that has trained them. So we've really done a great job in supporting the different trajectory for these students with disabilities, because a lot of times they graduate and stay at home and they don't go out and get jobs or have a career or get to engage with their community. And when you have a community that doesn't have a lot of transportation, public transportation, if they don't have a driver's license, a lot of times they can't get places. So we're trying to support all of that. And finally, we talk about state recognitions, and I don't think I've even shared this with Dr. Holman, but through our peer inclusion grant for preschool, we had state representatives coming in and doing observations over the past couple of years, and they actually have asked us to do this last year, but we're going to do this next school year, to be a peer model. So our Cowan Elementary School, we're going to apply, and we're going to be a peer model preschool where everybody at the state that wants to learn how to do better programming for students with individuals and disabilities and inclusion services can come in and look at our model preschool. And so we're going to have people coming from all across the state looking into 2 preschool programs at Cowan Elementary, and they've just done a fabulous job there supporting our inclusion efforts. And so I know I got kind of long-winded, but I just wanted to share some of those things with y'all.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Both departments are extremely intricate to the inner workings of the district. And so now to personnel.
It's a little longer than usual, or a little longer than it has been for the last 2 or 3 months. I think we've had 10 or 12 personnel changes in the last Friday. At the moment, there are 2 teacher openings at North Middle School. There will be a 3rd one as of March 1st, that we would really, really like to find a really, really good applicants to fill those positions. We have a custodial opening at Broadview, and nothing else comes to mind at this moment. I've had 8 people who told me that they will be retiring at the end of the year, And I've had a few people, and this is very important for budget, who've told me that they'll be getting degrees at the end of the year. So we certainly need to know that too, to be sure we have appropriate money in the right place to compensate these people. So just wanted to share that with you.
Right. And?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us back to item G, which is the legislative update, and Ms. Sarah, briefly, please.
Okay, so many of the school board members were just at the TSBA, the Tennessee School Board Association, meeting just earlier this week, Monday and Tuesday, in fact, and so a lot of this comes from TSBA. But they said that of all the bills that have been filed, and they had to be filed either by the 31st of January or the 1st of February, they're tracking over 214 bills. And so this tells you that there's a lot going on in the state of education in the state of Tennessee. A big one on all of our minds is what's going to happen with Governor Lee's Freedom Act, which at least as of Tuesday had not yet been filed as a bill. And so keep your eye out for that. When it does come out, if you have thoughts, comments, and suggestions, you should pass those on to our legislators. And I'll come back to that at the end also. So here are not all of the 214, but a few that might be of interest. So Senate Bill 1580 would put into place a recall process that mostly affects school board members. The next one would allow law enforcement officers, whether on duty or off duty, active duty and retired members of the armed forces, and people with enhanced carry permits to come on school grounds or any property owned, operated, or while in use by any public board of education to carry, whether openly or concealed, a handgun. And then there is another bill up, the SB 1858, which gives a parent of a child who attends or is eligible to attend a school the ability to file a civil lawsuit if there is material on file that doesn't meet the age-appropriate Materials Act of 2022. And so those are a few that are of particular concern at the moment. And then there are an array of others here that listed in part for your knowledge. The one about looking for a way to substitute Algebra 2, they said is because, especially with the end of year course, apparently Algebra 2 is an obstacle to students graduating from high school. Again, it's interesting because they're pushing math in elementary school. So personally, I'm not sure how I feel about that one, but you can read up on that. You can read the other ones here as well, but to touch on what Dr. Gwynn was saying, Senate Bill 2213 says, as introduced, it adds pre-kindergarten students with special education needs and peer models to the categories of students who generate education funding through the TISA, because right now, these, from what I understand, these programs are not really financially supported in the ways that they should be, and so if this bill would get passed, it would help provide much more robust financial support for these really important programs. They're great for the students who have special needs, but they're great for the regular ed students as well. Let's see, there are some pushes for educators for being able to come on a temporary permit for PE, for being able to come in on a temporary permit for courses with end of year course exams. There are several bills out there that would touch on the 3rd and 4th grade retention laws as well. And so, again, kind of as always, if you have thoughts on any of this legislation or any other legislation that you've heard about or read about, apparently one of the most important things is to sort of catch it while it is in committee, because a lot of the work is done in committee. So if you have thoughts, there are House Education committees in both the Senate and the House of representatives in Tennessee, so those are the people that you should do your best to be in touch with you if you have thoughts. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you, appreciate it. Takes us to our financial reports. First item there is January 2024 financial report, second quarter financial report, and August to January intercategory amendments. You want to speak to those, Ms. Jenny?
Well, I can tell you that right now we do have less sales tax. We're down about $20,000-$30,000. And that has been affected by the Deckard and by the 3-month tax holiday. But all in all, we are still within a small percentage of where we want to be for halfway through the year. So we're still doing good, but we are down.
And we have discussed the Deckard bill at our last meeting.
And we are hoping that next couple of months, we should be done with that. So we should be getting our full funding. So the second quarter report is just a compilation of, year to date, and then the August to January intercategory amendments are just those are the amendments that have been made throughout the year within categories, and it's just for your information. Just receiving files.
Motion to receive and file January 2024 finance report, 23-24 second quarter BOE financial report, and the August to January intercategory amendment.
Second. We have a motion approved by Mr. Williams, second by Ms. Schultz. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Takes us to the February 2024 budget amendments.
Most of these are just aligning budgets. There's nothing on these particular ones that are necessarily out of anything major. Just moving a little bit of money around here and there. Most of these are state funds, Jesse's programs, realigning some budgets.
Motion to approve February 24 GP budget amendment, amendment number 2 and amendment number 3.
Second.
She was first.
I did second it.
Motion by Mr. Williams, second by Ms. Roberts. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. Sorry.
And I do have one other thing that I would like to throw in. So I know we budgeted last year for some money for the roof at Huntland. So Stephen Clark has been in touch with Train. They have come down and they have done their evaluation of Huntland's roof. They looked at the middle school, the elementary school, kindergarten, and the ag building. We are asking for a motion to allow us to go ahead and put that out for bid so we can get some prices on that. Rough figures, we're looking about 1.1 million. However, we have about 667,000 of that already committed. So we are looking at needing roughly about $435,000 in order to do all of Huntland's roof. Right now, we can do at least 2 parts of it with what we had budgeted into capital outlay for this last year. When we bid this out, the thought will be to bid it out individually and then as a whole so that we can decide, if we want to go ahead and just do part of it now with the funding that we have and budget it into next year, or if we can get a better deal doing it all at one time, we can do that. Right now, we're not asking for funding. We're asking for permission to move forward with the bid process.
Make a motion to approve the bid process for the roofs at Huntland.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Williams to approve, second by Ms. Lahinsky. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries as well.
One more.
Still got the floor.
Asking for money, I apologize. And this is as an FYI, next month we will be bringing a budget amendment. Insurance, Workers' comp insurance, vehicle insurance, and building insurance have all skyrocketed. They just did an audit on our buildings and our, basically our payroll for our workman's comp. So we have a shortfall of about $145,000. $145,000 is the difference of what we budgeted and what we're having to pay out in all of those. So that will be coming in a budget amendment next month. I just wanted you to be aware that it was coming. So, and now I'm done.
Thank you, Sunshine, for that report. All right. That brings us to new business. And the first item there is a Huntland School request for credit card application. And a couple of us were talking with Jenny prior to the meeting, and some of the board members may have questions about that, and I'd like for you to address that so that everybody's kind of full with it before we vote.
I highly recommend this. I do recommend and have. I've talked to Susan Mitchell about it specifically, about Huntland and Franklin County High School both having credit card accounts. The reason that is they do have school groups that take students to different conferences, generally during the summer, a lot of times during December. The biggest issue that we ran into with Huntland this past year is the hotels are not accepting checks anymore. It's as simple as that. So the problem that I believe was at CTE, that the CTE group at Huntland actually had to take one of the county credit cards with them so that they could pay for their hotels. And then when they got back, essentially Huntland wrote a check to Franklin County Board of Education so that we could pay the bill with it. It's a bit of a hardship for them to have to, to do things like that. So I personally feel like it's a great idea for the schools to have their own credit cards. They do need to develop a really strong policy for that, and I'll get with Ms. Lisa, and we'll work on that, because the county and the Board of Education does have a strong credit card policy. So we will work with them to make sure that they get that implemented in their books. But again, I feel like this is it's something that's needed. We're going to have to. It's really, people don't take checks. Heck, it's hard to find people to take cash anymore. So this is a really good idea, and it's a step in the right direction for the schools.
Question, you said this is just for Huntland, right? But recommended the other schools?
The high school.
Okay.
And the reason is that the middle schools don't conference like the high schools do. At this point, I'm not sure if the need is there for the middle schools, and it might get there as they grow their CTE departments. But at this point, you've got the different student organizations within the high schools.
Is there a personal name on this card?
Yes, ma'am. So, for example, Franklin County government, we have one credit card account that encompasses the government side and the school side. And we have probably, it's ridiculous, about 38 to 40 individual credit cards. But it is tied to, my credit card is tied to me and my name and social security number. Lori's is hers, Dr. Holman's is his. So you still are, you have one main account holder, which is going to be your principal, who is ultimately responsible. There's no reason for these schools to have very many cards, but the name holder on the card, it is tied to them personally.
And this is not to go out and buy office supplies or trivial. This is for trips.
For example, the counties, we generally try to, it is just for travel. It's for hotels and conferences. And for those, there are many places that simply will not take a purchase order as payment. We try to limit those as much as we can and leave it for travel, because we use a lot of travel throughout the county. And so our policy is almost, we restrict it as low as we can on what it is used for, and everything is accounted for every single month.
Would we have a policy in place for its use before people
and the county has a policy already. We will just implement it within their schools, so it will be a very smooth transition, so that they have a written policy ready to go.
And then the principals will in procedural measures, for example, the credit card, it will be strictly denoted for travel only. And then even probably some stipulation as to each school limited to one card or something of that sort. So there is policy.
Yes, generally the cards, for example, every single one of the, 95% of the county credit cards are kept at the finance office.
Mm-hmm.
So if, let's say Lori needed her card, she actually has to come to us and check her own card out. So there's controls on it as to who gets it, and so it's not just a card, they're not just floating out, you don't carry it in your wallet. You do have to check it out when you use it. So we have a pretty strong policy and procedures at the county and the school level that we would pass down to the individual schools.
You said every purchase is accounted for. Who does that, or what would that look like at the school level?
Our purchasing or our payroll or payables, they go through the credit card bill, and every single credit card charge has a receipt that goes along with it, and so they're matching it up. So
right, what would that look like at the school level? Like
again, your school secretary would.
Okay.
That would be that would fall on them. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and it does not replace purchase orders. A lot of people in the county feel that it does. You follow the same procedure as you would if you were getting a written check. You are simply making that out to, for example, we use Truist. So those purchase orders, instead of being made out to Gaylord Opryland Hotel, are made out to Truist. And so you still are responsible to meet those purchase orders prior to using a credit card. It's just a different way.
So that's another check right there because you have.
Correct. Yes. You're just
So
writing
the
the check
purchase
out.
order has to be in before the credit card, use of the credit card is approved.
Correct. So when you check out the credit card, and I know Renee does it here, we do it in our office. When you come to check out your credit card, first thing you have to give us is your PO number. And it's written on the log. This person checked their card out on this day, this is their PO number, and this is how much PO number
And
was
then the
for.
receipt comes back.
And then the
it's
receipt
matched
comes
with
back and they check it back in. Yes, ma'am.
Can I interject, Ms. Clejo?
Yes,
So, just in discussion with Ms. Tammy Sanders, who's my bookkeeper, what we were planning is to keep that card in the office, and it would be booked by phone, over the phone, so that the card was never really checked out and in a person's possession, that it would stay within the school office area, is our plan.
And Ms. Crabtree, you're
Yes.
you're fine with these rules
Yes.
that you've heard?
Yes, sir, I had to do a lot of reading because my name is on there. And my social security
That's
number, all
right.
that good stuff.
That's right.
It's staying in the main office. Okay, just saying.
Motion to approve the Huntland School request for a credit card application.
Second.
We've got a motion by Mr. Williams to approve the request and a second by Ms. Schultz. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Then item 2 is Huntland School as well. They are asking for petty cash. I think $600 and they're going to use it for softball and baseball season. Let's start up.
Motion to approve.
Second.
You want to call that one?
Sarah can do that one.
Who made the motion?
Sarah and Sarah.
All right, Ms. Marhesky made the motion, Ms. Leakey, second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. Takes us to item 3, which is section 5 policy review, and that's on personnel. Ms. Linda, do you want to weigh in on that?
I will. I am very glad to say there's only 2 policies here that, as I was looking through them, that I thought needed a little bit of work. Policy 5.116, on the second page, there's a sentence that's in that policy twice. The sentence on, I recommend that line 6 and 7, that last sentence be deleted, because that very same sentence is down on line 18 and 19. I must have gotten real happy and copied it over or something.
You like those sentences?
But I recommend, we only need one. Either one, it really doesn't matter. So I'd recommend that it be adjusted in that way. The other policy, 5.1141, is obsolete. We no longer have or receive teacher effect data. That was probably back in the late 90s. It was really a big deal at that time. Teacher effect right now is part of the teacher's evaluation, and there's no separate data for that. So I'd like to recommend that come out of the policy manual.
Motion to approve policy 5.116 and the deletion of policy 5.1141.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Williams to approve policy 5116 and to delete 51141. And a second by Ms. Roberts. Ms. Small? Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You said it's obsolete, it's no longer used. How many more sections of the code are like old from the 90s and no longer used, and maybe why are they still?
I hope there's no more. That's why there's an annual review of these policies, and that's one that we just missed over the years. We just didn't get it. I really thought it had been deleted. I went back and looked, and it hadn't. So that's why there is an annual review. We constantly check. The state constantly changes things, and we just miss them sometimes.
And when you get rid of those policies, do they go somewhere else, or are they just gone?
They're gone.
So if it comes back up, there's no more policy for the.
They're just gone.
Well, should that particular item be entered again, then we would have to reinvent a policy to cover it.
Most of the additions to the policies actually come through the recommendation of the Tennessee School Board Association. Those typically come down late June after the legislation has done all they're going to do. Then the SBA will send us recommended policies to be updated for the manual for the following year. But this is a deletion. I'm very glad to say the policy manual is probably about this thick, but online you can't tell it's that thick. But it's pretty good. It's pretty thick.
Oh, thank you.
Good. Okay. All right. That takes us to. Oh, I'm sorry. We do have to vote on it. I was about to say all in favor, say aye. Aye. And opposed. Because that's where I was when I was Brody. Okay. That takes us to discussion, and we did the board self-evaluation, and Miss Patty compiled it for us, and I trust have all of you have an opportunity to look over it. And I would just open the floor right now if anybody wants to comment. We would welcome that. And there were a lot of good comments made on the items there. And the one thing that Dr. Harlan and I talked about earlier was on the idea maybe of having quarterly workshops and addressing one issue at each workshop, maybe test data at one, maybe mission, goals, and strategic plan at one, and that sort of thing, which would seem to satisfy some of the comments that were made on the evaluation. Is there anything that any of you feel really strongly about that you want to talk about?
I think that's a good idea. I really do, because sometimes it's good to share information for all of us to know this things.
So other than that, a couple of issues with that. I think overall the evaluation, it wasn't pretty evaluation.
I think that having more frequent meetings where you can discuss things outside of the necessities really would help, because it's good to come back to the things that are important, and so it's a great idea.
Okay, with that said, you have a schedule of meetings at the bottom. And I'm not going to read those. You can read those as well as I can. But I do want to say something here, and she may shoot me. But did you notice on the personnel report that we do have someone here in the central office that is retiring? I believe, is it March 1? Technically it's March 8th. That'd be Ms. Linda Foster. She's definitely going to be sorely missed. She's kind of like some of the rest of us. She's been here forever, and it's just like she's supposed to stay forever. But Linda, thank you so much for all you've done, for all.
All right, then you have to tell us how many years.
Almost 50. Almost 50.
Linda and I used to worry about, or used to be concerned, because every time I had to tell how many years I've been working, I'd have to ask Linda, because I never could keep up with it. But then she told me one time we'd been working about the same number of years, so.
I have to be honest, it's been a hard decision, but it's time. It's time.
We want you to enjoy it.
I'll do it. Yeah, very good.
Motion to adjourn? All right, motion to adjourn.
Second.